DC released the second cover to the next Batman for their new Future State comic series being released in January. And on the cover, you have a maskless Batman who's a black man, and it's Tim Fox, one of Lucius Fox's son. And I saw the reception online. There's there's a general excitement for it. There's a general excitement, and I also see some, typical fanboys saying why. But for the most part, I've seen a lot of shares, a lot of love, a lot of, oh, I got to check this out, and I gotta get into it. But and I know we just did a couple videos about objectivity and how this isn't,
Mhm.
but there's something about this whole thing that's irking me a little bit, and
Talk about it.
I feel like it's a little bit disingenuous, to tell you the truth, with this
Mm.
iteration of the character with Tim Fox, because I'm not sure if it's either DC Comics or is it just the fans or just the mass public not knowing this, but this Black Batman that is Tim Fox, he's not the only Batman. During the Future State comic book series, there's Bruce Wayne is still active. Bruce Wayne is still in the suit. Bruce Wayne is still fighting crime. You know what I mean? So it's not even like he has the solo spotlight on him. He's sharing it with Bruce. And it's not even like, oh, Bruce is old and decrepit like Batman Beyond. You know what I'm saying? This is literally Bruce still in shape, still doing his thing, still fighting crime. And I find that a little bit redundant. It's like, yeah, we're gonna have a Batman fighting crime in, South Side Gotham, and then we have
Mhm.
Batman fighting crime in Midtown Gotham, like at the same time. Like, wait, what? You know what I'm saying? Bruce doesn't even seem like the type to share that mantle with anyone. You know,
Right.
and it's not. Yeah, and it's not even different because in the past we've seen people take up the mantle at the Cape and Cow. We've seen Dick Grayson. We've seen Dick Grayson take up the Batman mantle once we thought Bruce Wayne was dead. We've seen that even Commissioner Gordon with the new 52 version with the little Bat Mecha suit take up the Batman mantle. Yeah, that's a whole storyline. But we've seen other people take up the cape and cowl, but the difference is that Batman Bruce Wayne stepped down. Bruce Wayne was out of the picture. Bruce
Mhm.
Wayne, for whatever reason, whether he was dead, whether he was like, all right, I'm taking a break or whatever, that character, that mantle was taken and passed on to another substitute, and then that character had the spotlight all to themselves. And that's not going on with Tim Fox. And he's not even in Detective Comics. This is the next Batman, and then they have Bruce Wayne in Dark Detective Comics. So they didn't even do him the rights to even put him on Detective Comics. This whole future state storyline is an alternative 20-year time jump of a
Wait.
possible DC future.
So this is a 20-year time jump
Hmm.
where Bruce Wayne is still Batman.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
This is
this
a
is
20-year jump. Yeah.
so in other words, Tim Fox, character that I've never heard of before. In this context, is this an original character? This is a new character.
This is a returning character. He has been established in Detective Comics as being one of Lucius Fox's kids, but
Okay.
everyone knows Luke Fox. Luke Fox is what everyone knows because he played Batwing in the past, and which was basically African Batman, fully masked. So this is still not even a new concept. They did this shit like 5 years ago.
So for all intents and purposes, let's just try to break this down real quick.
I
As far as guys that have stepped in as Batman, we have Azrael in Nightfall.
mm-hmm.
We have Dick Grayson. I'm not sure if that's canon or if it's not canon. We have Jim Gordon, as you mentioned, at the top of the segment here.
Yeah.
We had Terry McGinnis in Batman Beyond, again, which may or may not be considered canon. And now we have Tim Fox. claiming that he's Batman, right?
Right.
It
Exactly.
it sounds to me like this is the participation medal Batman.
I hate to say it, but it just appears that way from the outside looking in. This is literally participation trophy Batman, and I think DC is kind of showcasing it like, yeah, look, we got a black Batman, we got a black Batman, and
Hmm.
it's not even like that.
I gotta ask, like, why is this necessary? Like, why? What is the purpose behind doing this right now while you still have it established in storyline Bruce Wayne is Batman? Like, I know there's only been an issue as of right now, right?
No, it hasn't come out yet. These are just previews and
Oh,
sample
okay,
pictures
okay,
for it comes out in
got it,
January.
got it. So I'm gonna check it out. I'm gonna read it just to kind of get a gauge on what's going on. But in context, it doesn't really make any sense to introduce someone else as Batman while Bruce Wayne is still alive, still active, doing whatever it is that he's doing. Um, the optimist in me, I would hope that this would be like a swerve to where maybe Timothy Fox or Tim Fox ends up being a bad guy that takes up the helm as Batman and maybe takes out Bruce Wayne in this future timeline and ends up going forward as Batman being a bad guy or a villain, but that might be a little bit too much pie in the sky right
Yeah, man. I talked to Von L. Young from Millennial Comics, and
now. Hmm.
we kind of had a discussion. I've yet to release it, but in all honesty, skin color is now a gimmick to sell comic books.
Oh shit! Hey, say that
Yeah,
again.
yeah. Skin color is now a gimmick to sell comic books. Just like the
Oh
'90s
man.
when you had that nice foil hardcover variants of you know X-Men or Spider-Man, whatever. Now you put a black person on your cover, and now it's like, look, we have such and such now. Buy our book.
Mhm.
And I hate to
But
say
the
it,
right, we have Batman, but he's black.
yeah. I hate to say it, but the timing is impeccable. You know what I'm saying? With the year
Hmm.
2020, year that we have it right now, with the whole Black Lives Matter movement and companies cashing in, they didn't do this shit a year ago, 2 years ago,
Nope.
4 years ago, five
Nope.
years ago, 10 years ago. I mean, we had
20
alternate
years
versions
ago.
20 years ago. We had Black Superman. We had Nubia. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we've had other
Hmm.
versions. We had, was it Flash Wally West got retconned to be like a black teen, one of those versions. So we've had
We
other
had
versions, these other
we
characters.
we had we had Virgil Hawkins. We had John Stewart.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now in the year 2020, you're like, what's one we haven't done yet? Batman, and
Hmm.
it just feels a little bit disingenuous, and I hope that it's good, and I hope that I'm wrong. I'd be happy if I'm wrong. I'd be ecstatic if this was something solid, something new, and something fresh. But
Hmm.
from the outside looking in, man, I mean, you couldn't give the man his own spotlight. You couldn't even give the man his own time to breathe a little bit, and it's not even canon. Whatever sells the most out of this future state continues for the rest of the year, like kind of like Batman Beyond.
Right.
I'll
It's a
go.
shot in the dark. More. It's a shot in the dark. That's what it is. It's a shot in the dark.
It's a shot in the dark, and they couldn't even go fully through with it because you have Bruce Wayne with Dark Detectives being released the same month at the same time as his next Batman, Tim Fox. So it was
Hmm.
like you literally could please two crowds. You're like, oh, if you didn't like quote unquote the Black Batman, you still got the OG here in the same timeline in the future, still kicking ass, still active, still in
Hmm.
shape. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So
Yep.
it's like you get both crowds saying, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, I got it, I got it. I'm so happy to get this thing."
Oh,
So I mean, it's conflicting because In all honesty, with all these recent news of Jakeem Thunder appearing in the CW TV show, and then
Mm-hmm.
you have Naomi now being worked on for a TV series. You know what I'm saying? And now you have the Black Batwoman being released. I think there is. I don't mean to go all woke here, but I
No,
think there
go ahead. Let's
I
talk
think there's
about
a
it.
danger. There's a danger of not controlling our own image, man.
Say that again. Say that again. I agree with you. I agree with you 100% on that.
Yeah, man. I think there's a danger of not controlling our own image when we go to
Mm-hmm.
others begging and pleading to give us what we want instead of making it
Mm-hmm.
and supporting it ourselves. There's a problem. It's like we celebrate Wakanda, but it was built by other people. There's a lot of and I hate to be that guy saying, was always screaming. There's indie talent out there with fresh ideas or fresh perspectives of what we want, but there is. And if I could just see the same effort, the same energy of sharing that one image of maskless, unmasked Black Batman and some of these great other projects that are out there, I think
Mm-hmm.
that that demand of like, man, why don't they make this? Or man, why don't they do that? I think that would be gone, man. I mean, if you look at Japan, they got manga. You know what I'm saying? Every country kind of has their own shit. Like you go to India, they got
Right,
Bollywood. You know? So,
bro. My niece is 15 years old. She put me on to something called manhwa, which is the Korean version of manga.
mm, wow, there it is. There it is.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% on that because my response to that is I said at this point in time, there's no getting around that. Bruce Wayne is Batman. The character of Batman is synonymous with Bruce Wayne. You can't
Mm-hmm.
get around that. There are, and we've addressed this over time, there are some issues with the character of Bruce Wayne. There's some issues with the psychology of Batman. But within context, within the history of that character, Bruce Wayne is Batman. Now, as far as live action portrayal and things that could be done there, that's a different conversation. But my only question is why now in 2020 do you feel that it's necessary for a black African American male to be taking up the helm as Batman? Why is that necessary now? Why is that something that is needed now? Why is
Mm.
that important to the culture, quote unquote, now? You know what I'm saying? At the end of
Yep.
the day, at the end of the day, like I said before, I love Batman. We all like Batman for different types of reasons, whether it be the world that he lives in, the way that they tell the stories, the villains, the gadgets, whatever. At this point in time, I don't really need Batman to not be Bruce Wayne because the best stories over time, as it's been proven throughout the entire history of Bruce Wayne and Batman, the best stories come as a result of him being the one under that persona, under the cowl, as they say. With Spider-Man and Miles Morales, I think that's a different type of situation there. That was more of an update to the character. It was never established that in the origin of the character of Peter Parker was never well off. He was never someone who inherited an abundance of wealth. He was never someone who was meant to be perceived as being different from the average person walking around. He just was somebody who was in a situation where something happened, and then as a result of that happening, he ended up with an ability, right?
Right.
So
Right.
you update that character, and what would that character look like if it wasn't in the 1960s? Boom! Now you got Miles Morales, and that's not an original thought. This is coming from people who actually wrote that character. With Bruce Wayne as Batman, it's never been a secret that he was an elitist. It's never been a secret he was born into an old money billionaire, American royalty, blah blah blah, behind the scene channel on YouTube. But whatever, digress. So none of that has ever been a secret. So even now, if you update that character and give him an origin to where he's related to Lucius Fox, you're still giving him an origin that more or less lines up with him coming from, a background that is still different from what most Black people in America experience. Am I wrong in that statement? I don't think so.
Nope.
If we really think about this from like a realistic perspective, like Lucius Fox, if Lucius Fox was a real person, Lucius Fox would arguably be on the level of like the Black Steve Jobs. If Lucius Fox was a real person, Lucius Fox would be on the cover of Time magazine, right?
No
You
doubt.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
man.
if the character of Lucius Fox, which Morgan Freeman did a damn good job of portraying, was a real person, that's Time Magazine Person of the Year. That's Time Magazine Person, of the century. That's one of the most important people walking the face of the earth, if that's an actual real person. So the idea that his sons or even his grandsons being the character of Batman or, taking up the cowl as Batman, that's not far fetched, but it's also not relatable in a way to where it actually means what they want it to mean. The context is actually being lost in trying to provide context, if that makes any
Mm,
sense.
damn, man.
Like,
Oh
you know what I'm saying?
shit. Keep
Like,
going, man. Keep cooking.
like for real, bro. Like, I'm not trying to reach or get too woke, kind of like what you were saying, but it's very easy to get lost in the plot when you're trying to write it yourself. It doesn't make any sense on a character level or on a suspension of disbelief level to where just by making Batman black, but also giving him the origin of being related to realistically one of the smartest people who ever lived in that continuity, meaning the DC universe, by making Batman one of his sons, he's still growing up being privileged. He's still growing up living a different experience from what people that look like us are experiencing on a daily basis. The character of Lucius Fox is different. The character of Lucius Fox is someone you could look at, an older black man. You could easily tell, okay, he's experienced discrimination. He's experienced being looked over. He's experienced having some of his ideas taken away. This isn't an alternate reality version of Lucius Fox that becomes Batman. Someone related to him that never really experienced what he experienced becoming Batman. And the people who wrote this story think that that's going to make us want to buy this comic book more. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are we
Yeah.
really talking about here?
Mm.
At what point are we becoming too smart for our own good? At what point are we trying to do too much? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, man. I totally get what you say, man. You broke that shit down nicely, man. I couldn't have said it any better. And I don't think Bruce Wayne would be okay with another man taking up the cape and cowl with him active. I've never
That's
seen it
point
before.
number two. That is point number two because the entire purpose behind the character of Bruce Wayne taking this abundance of wealth that he was born into and instead of trying to make the world a better place, instead of trying to purify water, instead of trying to, feed starving children in third world countries. This character decided to become a vigilante as a result of pain, as a result of being traumatized, even to
Hmm.
the point where the character is so good to where we're willing even think about. We're willing to enjoy Batman as a character without even thinking about any of the things I just mentioned because of how, because of the depth of the character of Bruce Wayne. But
Yep.
now you make him black, and that's supposed to make us invest more. Like, nah, man, get out of here with that. I don't need that. I don't really need that. You know what I'm saying? I don't need that. If I'm looking for that, you know what I'm saying? Let me see what's going on with Miles Morales out in the Bronx. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Let me see what's
Right.
going on with him out in the Bronx because at least that makes a little bit more sense if we're thinking about context and what the character actually means for people who look like us. But
Mm.
you know, that's a
Yeah,
little
man.
bit over the head. But I didn't mean to take off and run with that. I really
Nah,
didn't want to take
man.
off and run
You
with
did your
that.
thing, man. That shit was smooth. That shit was smooth, bro. I can't even explain it. Even I can't explain it more than what you did, man. And yeah, man, it's just I'm gonna buy it. Make no mistake. Because on one hand, I get it. For the generations before us who grew up
Mm-hmm.
in the '70s and the '80s, or in the '60s, there wasn't the selection and variety of diverse cast characters in your comic shops. I get it.
Not.
You
Yep.
have Luke Cage, you have Black Panther, you have Black Goliath, and you had Falcon.
And maybe John Stewart,
And
depending
maybe
on what
John
year.
Stewart.
Right. Depending on what year you might have been trying to look at comic books.
Right, right. For the main big two. And then that was it. So I understand for some certain folks it's like, oh, these guys are complaining about, more black characters for the big two is better. But I think there is a problem with just accepting everything and anything. And it
Oh
shouldn't
man,
be the case.
facts. That's a fact
Yes.
right there. That's a like. Oh man, like that kind of thing that line of thought could be applied to a lot of things, not just
Right.
comic books. You know what I'm
hmm
saying?
Yeah, just life and like in general, whatever we experience, man. Yeah, I think it's up to us to really kind of dissect if this is something, if we're getting fed scraps here, or this is something a genuine article of art and storytelling that they want to really give out. You know what I'm saying? And let the
Mm-hmm.
people decide if it's good or not. And I'm gonna be real, man. With freaking Niall, I mean Brian Michael Bendis. Brian Michael Bendis, all right,
Legend.
he's killing this shit. Legend. Created Miles Morales. Then he created Riri Williams. Riri Williams, Ironheart, is literally gonna get a freaking Disney
Oh yeah.
Plus Marvel show.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And they got Ava DuVernay, respectable, legendary director, in my opinion, to do Naomi, who was another black character that he created, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
cool. He got to the point in his career where he got the freedom to create anything he really wanted to. But
Right.
uh, yeah, but on one hand, he's getting the push for his characters. Where the fuck is Static Shock, man? All this
Yep.
shit. Where
Yeah.
is Static Shock? Where is this black created black character?
Listen. You can't even. Okay, like, are reruns of Static Shock even available, like on the DC Unlimited right now?
I don't even know. I'm not even sure this shit's on DVD, bro. I'm be honest with you, man. This shit, you might have to go on eBay and get a VHS tape of this motherfucker, man.
Well,
I don't know.
um,
Let me see.
yeah, there you go. I mean, it's business, right? It's not
Yeah,
supposed to be personal, but you know.
yeah, it's on DVD, but I'm just seeing other characters get approval, or what I'm saying. I see a push,
Right.
and I see this Black Batman, Tim Fox, and I'm like, but you gave Static Shock not even his own preview book. You put him in the Milestone Comics issue, like a issue 0, and there's a little preview book of things to come, and he had like 2 pages in there. You didn't
Mm-hmm.
promote it. You didn't showcase it. The book is basically being buried because everyone's talking about DC Future State and this Tim Fox Batman. And meanwhile, Milestone has their relaunch like right
Uh-huh.
afterwards. And we're all hyped about this DC Future State. We're talking about it right now. A lot of people talking about it right now. There's
Right.
no buzz for the Milestone relaunch. There's no buzz for the fact that Static Shock is coming out with a issue number 1, a new comic book in 2021. It's
Mm-hmm.
like flatlined, and I'm just a little bit curious as to why that is. Like,
And
uh,
not only that, but what I'm gonna say, and this goes for any medium, whether it be video games, movies, comic books, TV shows, advertisements. There is no such thing as a coincidence. It is not a coincidence that what you just said is actually happening in real time right now.
yeah. You know what? I'm gonna do you, man. I'm gonna borrow one of your pages, man.
Uh
I'm gonna
huh.
put this I'm gonna put this in wrestling terms, man. Okay,
Yeah, yeah,
this is
yeah,
what's happening right now. You know what I'm saying? DC
yeah.
Comics is doing to Static Shock and Milestone Comics what WWE did with Triple H, burying the whole Raw roster from 2008 to like 2012. No bullshit. Burying everybody, man. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I
Right,
can't ignore it, man. I got Black Lightning, I got Jackeen Thunder, I got Naomi, I
right,
got Reed Williams. Okay, that she don't count. She's Marvel, but I got, you know what I'm saying? Who else? I got all these things coming out, and it's
right.
you had Static Shock for freaking years. Didn't do
On the
shit
shelf.
with him
On
on the
the
shelf,
shelf. Oh,
collecting dust, bro.
mm-hmm.
He's the OG Miles. I mean, these guys did it years ago. Years
Mm-hmm.
ago.
Rest in peace
Uh,
to Dwayne McDuffie.
yes, man. We need more talent like him, and I think it's a problem, man. It's just I can't ignore it, and it's just I just have to say on it, and this is just the process of creating and business and everything along those lines. And
Mm-hmm.
I hope we can go out and support the Static book like this hype is for this new Tim Fox book. But
This is what I was gonna say, bro. Like, I think that the character of Static Shock needs that boost. The character of Static Shock is, I think, aside from a Miles Morales or a Black Panther, a character like Virgil Hawkins, Static Shock is the one character who most needs that support because I think there's a lot to be told. There's a lot that could be done with the world that he lives in. Like the Static
yeah,
Shock animated series. The Static Shock animated series for me was the closest thing to X-Men after X-Men. You see, if you
mm,
get what I mean when I say that.
yeah,
Like
man.
like the animation style might have been a little bit different. It might have been more modernized to kind of fit into what they were doing with the WB and Batman and Justice League and Superman. But
Yeah,
in terms of the subject matter and the way it was presented, that was the closest thing to X-Men post X-Men. You know what I'm saying? And it's a shame that that property continues to get looked over the way that it does because there's more that could be done with that than what I think the public perception is and what I think the editorial people in charge of DC Comics are actually doing over there. Man, that's all I got to say about that.
yeah, man. Nah, you're right, man. Static, and here's the thing: Milestone, they got a whole universe, like you said. They have other heroes, Hardware, freaking Icon, and Rocket, and Blood Syndicate. They got their own. Static has its own pocket universe of characters and heroes, man. And he's just the tip of the iceberg, but he's the one that hits. And if he doesn't get the push, if WWE if DC Comics keeps burying him, keeping him on the shelf, it's like he's freaking wrestling in the indies of backyard
Mm-hmm.
wrestling. But I mean, for my last words on this Tim Fox Batman is, if you guys think that he's going to be the next Terry McGinnis, then you're wrong. I think he's just the tip of the iceberg. But he's the one that hits. And if he doesn't get the push, if WWE if DC Comics keeps burying him, keeping him on the shelf, it's like he's freaking wrestling in the indies of backyard wrestling. But I mean, for my last words on this Tim Fox Batman is, if you guys think that he's going to be the next Terry McGinnis, If you're thinking that this is going to be Batman Beyond 2.0, just look at the current treatment of that character and that iteration, and you let us know if you really think that Tim
Yep.
Fox is going to reach that caliber of success. But I might be wrong. And if I am wrong, I'll be gleefully wrong. And I will be happy that we got, another kind of caliber character that has to stand on his own 2 feet. But I am going to,
All right.
every time I see him, I ain't going to be disappointed that it's not
Mm-hmm.
static. It's not
Mm-hmm.
coming from us in that kind of way, man. But
Right.
yeah.
Just let's think about the most likely outcome for that character that's being introduced. What is the most likely outcome? What is the scenario that is more likely to play out as whatever it is that they're trying to do goes over the course of time? Nightfall happened. You know what I'm saying? night,
Yeah.
night.
Oh
You
man.
know what I'm saying?
Oh shit. Keep
like,
cooking, man.
like
Why'd you
nightfall,
underground everyone's reality? Go ahead. Go ahead.
nightfall is something that happened. Ben Riley is something that happened. You know, Dark Ages, Spawn is something that actually happened. If you read comic books, if you paid attention to how some of these things work, what is the most likely outcome as a result of Tim Fox being introduced as the Black Batman? Like, share, subscribe.